we put up on the Patreon group. If you guys want to join the Patreon, scan the QR code in the upper right. That'll send you to patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. If you're a member of one of the 3 tiers, you'll be entered into the giveaways. You'll also have access to everything on that site for $3 a month. Pretty good quality, in my opinion, where you can get all this extra information. So what we did was put an article together here, top offensive tackles to watch in the 2025 NFL Draft. What you're going to see is where they rank on our big board. We're going to have a little snippet of a scouting report, and then we got the RAS cards attached as well. Here we go, Tim. Number 1 at the top of the list is Will Campbell out of LSU, projected to be a top 10 pick. Leading the pack is LSU's Will Campbell, a dominant force in the SEC, known for his impressive bend of power and agility. Campbell has the tools to be a day one starter in the NFL. His ability to anchor against top pass rushers makes him a prime candidate for a top 10 selection. Obviously, the arm length has been a big conversation with Will Campbell, but he scored a 9.90 on his RAS, 6'5", 319. I think he's going to be a stud, Tim. I really do.
I do too. I think he's a guy that you'll see probably production out of pretty quickly as a rookie. I think the RAS looks pretty good, and I don't know. I've seen him. Where is he on our board? Will Campbell.
He is 8th on our board.
8th on our board. Okay. I've seen him as high as 6 too. PFF had him at 6 for a while. I don't know where he is now.
I can see that. All right, man. Let's move it along. In the 10 spot, here's Emilio's boy. I like him a lot too. Armand Membo. And keep in mind, you guys may log into the Patreon group, and the PTA board looks a little different than this. It's constantly shuffling just a little bit as we're getting more data put in. We will obviously have you a finished product before the draft gets here. As a matter of fact, I'm going to see if I can get Emilio to upload the newest version of the draft board. So you guys will have that in the Patreon group. Just another perk to being in that Patreon community. So Missouri's Armand Membo brings a rare combination of size and athleticism to the table. His versatility and strong play in both pass protection and run blocking have elevated his stock, positioning him as a top 10 talent in this class. Doesn't mean he's going to be taking top 10, but that's what many people were expecting him to go. RAS, a 9.89. His height at 6'4" is the only thing that hurt his RAS. His weight, 332, was good. 31 on the bench press, 34-inch vertical. That's insane. Broad jump at 9.07. Your 40-yard dash was a 4.91 with a 20-yard split of 2.8, 10-yard split of 1.7. Tim, this is one of those players, if we're picking at 23 and somehow, some way, Armand Membo falls us at 23, run the card up there, dude.
Yep.
Absolute stud.
Definitely. I would agree with that 100%.
Yep.
No T-Rex arms on him, right? He's got the arm length and the wingspan. And like you said, the only knock RAS wise is his height. So I agree. I know Emilio's really high on him. I'm really liking what I'm seeing from Membo too.
Yeah, definitely. All right, next on the list is Kelvin Banks out of Texas. Projected draft position is a mid-first round. Kelvin Banks from Texas is another highly regarded prospect, showcasing consistency and technique that NFL teams covet. With his experience in a competitive conference, Banks is poised to make an immediate impact at the next level. He scored an 8.26 RAS. He was 6'5", 315, vertical jump of 32 inches, broad jump of 8.08, 40-yard dash of 5.16. So his RAS comes in at an 8.26 there with him, Tim.
I wouldn't be mad about him at 23 either.
Yeah, man, 13 on our board. If he's there at 23, why not, right?
He looks like a good balance, too, of the production's there, the PFF grades are there, and then you see the RAS is like good or okay, all right. Like, that's what we're talking about, right? We want football players, not just, pure athletic freaks. So I like Kelvin Banks, man.
Absolutely. Next on the list is Ohio State's Josh Simmons. He lands in the 22 spot on our big board. Projected draft position is mid-first round. Josh Simmons out of Ohio State has the length and footwork to excel at left tackle. His performance against Big Ten edge rushers highlights his potential as a reliable protector, pushing him into the mid-first round consideration. Now, he has an incomplete RAS card. He weighed in or measured in at 6'4", 317, but he did do 34 bench reps. That's a really, really good performance there. So obviously he's got that upper body strength there. Josh
coming
Simmons,
off injury, right?
What's that?
He's coming off injury, right?
I think he may be. Yeah. We didn't include any kind of injury history here. This was more along the lines of where do they sit on our board and what does the RAS look like, right? That's the big thing. So, all right, next you got Josh Connerly in the 30 spot out of Oregon, all right? Here's what we got on Josh Connerly, late first, early second rounder. Oregon's Josh Connerly Jr. is a rising star with a frame built for the NFL. His agility and upside suggest he could develop into a long-term starter, making him a strong candidate for the late first or early second round. All right, we got an 8.83 RAS on him. His height, 6'4", 311 pounds, only 24 on the bench press. That worries me a little bit. Vertical jump of 34.5 inches. That was out of the gym. Broad jump of 807, 40-yard dash of 505. And a 20-yard split of 287 with a 10-yard split of 170. Keep in mind, too, guys, you're going to see some guys on here with a low RAS that I guarantee you some of you guys and gals have heard them mention as guards. This is just how our board fell, okay? And we tried to take into consideration who should be considered a guard, who should be considered a tackle. But as Tim has pointed out many, many times, it don't matter because if they're listed as a tackle, we'll move them to guard, right? So it's got to be very interchangeable in that regard. So Josh Connerly Jr. there out of Oregon in the 30 spot. That was one, Tim, that I'd be like, nah, you can't reach for somebody like that at 23 if Goody's board looks like this. You know what I mean?
I agree. That would definitely be one you'd kind of scratch your head at. Not that I don't think Connerly provides good value in the draft. I just don't think he'd be a first-round guy.
Yeah. Definitely. All right, Jacob, you got anything to add to Josh Connerly Jr. as we're going through the offensive tackle, sir?
No, I honestly, not to disagree with Tim, but I could see this being a random pick that we're all just like, what? Like this to me seems like one of those where you scratch your head and you're like, okay, all right. I was listening to the pod. I had some stuff going on, but I'm really fascinated by the comparisons of the draft classes there. That was really cool information.
Interesting, man. Very interesting.
It makes me kind of like happy in one way and absolutely pissed in another. You know what I mean? Like it's
right.
It's a very interesting dynamic to do that. So I thought that was really cool.
Did anything stick out to you about it that you might have heard? Any specific players? I mean, there's probably a bunch, but
well, the fact is just that like it was very easy when you highlight the players that like, oh, I mean, these guys are not all pros or whatever, but
right.
You know, it was easy to pick those players out and to say, oh God, Goody should have done that, blah, blah, blah. But it's like more interesting to me that like it's one and then four players go and then another one and then four players go and then another one goes and four players go and like, you know, 3/4 of the guys you're talking about, they're like not in the league after 3 years. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's easy to go back and cherry pick and be like, oh, you should have done this. You should have done that. Well, guess what, guys? The grade on these guys probably were to the point where like when you're looking at your draft board, if it was us sitting there in the draft room, we'd pull the same trigger. You know what I mean? It's just, it's kind of a crapshoot. And that's where I think the guys like Greg Cosell, and even if you want to go, like they know what they're talking about because they've done it for years and years and years. Take some credence. Cause have you ever taken the time, Clay, to look at like the aftermath of what Greg Cosell does with because I would bet that he'd probably be up on the upper echelon of guys that he actually scouted, claimed they were this, and then they became that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I really haven't done that. I've got our draft board from last year. We could probably look at the Greg Cosell bonuses and see how many hits he had. Of course, he's not a player. He's not a guy that's going to say this player's a slam dunk. He's going to be great.
Right.
He's just simply here's what the tape shows. That's essentially what it is. Because and again, he'll preference all the time too. He'll say he'll preface like it's how are they going to project to the NFL? That's what you're trying to do, right? So that many times his opinion is, I think this guy will project. And one of the ways he does that is talking about an ascending player. You'll hear him say that a lot, meaning he is hitting his stride as he's coming into the league and got a lot of momentum, as opposed to someone that maybe peaked out in their junior year, came back their senior year, got banged up a little bit, and was just kind of, limping their way into the league. So I think that's very, very important for sure.
I feel like too that he's always like you said, has a caveat where it's like, I'm not saying this guy's the next Patrick Mahomes. I'm not saying this guy's the next this and that. He just says he has traits that if he were to fulfill the path that if he was to fulfill every single trait that he has the capability of, he could be this product kind of guy. Exactly. I like that about him very much.
Yeah, very, very honest, open, honest. There.
Yep.
Prince in the chat said hindsight's always right 65% of the time.
65%. 65%. That's what
Here you go. All right, next on the list in the 47th spot, we got Ariante Ursary out of Minnesota. All right. Projected draft position is late first round. It says Ursary from Minnesota offers a mix of strength and tenacity. His physicality in the run game and improving pass blocking skills have boosted his stock, landing him in the late first round conversations. 9.36 RAS, 6'6", 331, 25 bench reps. 20 broad jump 903, 40-yard dash 501. I want to clock people at the draft. see how many people cannot run as fast as these 330-pound linemen. You know what I'm saying? It's hilarious because we all look at them like they're big and lumbering and slow, and it's like, boy, they probably smoke us in a 40.
I guarantee you I couldn't hit 5 flat. I don't think either one.
Oh yeah, I don't think so either. I mean, myself, not you. I'm saying I feel.
No, I don't think I could.
If I could run a sub 6, I'd be happy.
That's exactly. Yeah.
All right, next on the list is Gray Zabel. He's in the 53 spot out of North Dakota State on our big board here. Mid-late first round, it says Gray Zabel, hailing from North Dakota State, brings small school pedigree with big-time potential. His technical soundness and toughness have scouts buzzing, projecting him as a mid to late first-round pick.
Here's the guy.
Obviously, incomplete RAS card, but at 6'5", 312, 26 reps, 36-inch vertical, 903 broad jump. This is that dude that it kind of feels like Zach Tom is what it feels like. He's going to be a great tackle. He'll be probably a Pro Bowl or an All-Pro guard, and he would be a Hall of Fame center is what it sounds like. Now, that's early. He could end up being a bust, but that's just what people were saying at the Senior Bowl, and these are people that are highly respected. But what do y'all think about Gray Zabel? Because, again, we've got him in the 53 spot, but he's being projected mid to late first round. What do y'all think?
I mean, that's definitely a guy if he's on the board at 23.
Yeah. To Tim's Jaden Higgins is my Gray Zabel. I'd be so happy if we traded up and got Gray Zabel. I'd be like, yes. I'd be that meme where I'm just showering the champagne over everybody. Daryl, he backs me up here because Zabel's pass blocking percentage 100%, run blocking percentage 97. I don't quite know what that means, Daryl, but 100%, 97.
Breaking news, baby.
Tell you what, that sounds good to me. I do. He does actually say that Drew D goes, oh, sorry. Drew D says that Zabel reminds me of Graham Barton. I completely agree with that. That's the kind of guy that he seems like. He's a plug and play. And Zach Tom's another great comparison. I just really do feel like Gray Zabel is going to be a gift to anyone's offensive line that he is put on.
Yeah. And Deadfish says he can run a 4.4 20-yard dash.
Here's a guy.
All right. Okay.
I don't think that's true.
I think that's lies. Number 63, Wyatt Malum out of West Virginia. Projection is a late first-round pick. West Virginia's Wyatt Malum is a gritty lineman with a knack for finishing blocks. His experience in the Big 12 and standout traits have elevated him into the late first-round contention. His RAS card at 801, measured in at 6'6", 313 with a 30-inch vertical. Did not do the bench press. Me no likey that, Jan. 40-yard dash, 5.27. His three-cone was pretty solid at a 7.59. But again, in the 63 spot, there's Wyatt Malum. I want to say he had good grades, though, if I remember correctly.
Very good grades, yeah.
Where did we take him in our mock this morning?
Third, right?
Second.
I believe we took him in the third, Timothy.
Wow.
I think we got it
Third.
saved here, boys. Let me see if I can find it.
Wow.
I think this is it right here. Boom,
Yeah,
third
87.
round. Yeah, that would have been great value because he's in the 63 spot for us.
Yeah.
So Wyatt Malum's grades, according to PFF, 2022, 74.8, 2023, 80.1, 2024, 91 flat with a pass block grade of 92.5, run block grade of 89.2, a true pass set block grade at 92.9. He never had a game under 62. Most of them were in the mid 80s, if not high 90s. That's pretty impressive to me.
That is solid, dude. Solid. Next, you got Charles Grant out of William and Mary. The RAS card is incomplete. As you can see, projected draft position is late first to fifth round with conflicting opinions. Wow. So, I mean, he's been all over the joint. Some people are like, hey, this guy might be a first-round pick. They were saying it early on. Here of lately, it seems like it's closer to the fifth round. It says Charles Grant from William and Mary may come from a smaller program, but his tape shows a player with the tools to compete at the next level. Scouts have widely varying takes, with some seeing him as a late first-round steal and others projecting him as a day 3 pick due to the level of competition concerns. And, of course, the RAS incomplete, and it started off poor, 6'4", 311 with only 19 bench reps. That really hurts someone like Charles Grant. But he has been praised for kind of his footwork, that type of player. So you never know. What do you guys think of Charles Grant there in the 70 spot?
Tim, what do you think? I mean, I look at the hand size. He's got almost elite hand size. He's got almost elite arm length for the, making that initial contact. I was very surprised at the fact that he was as short as he was. According to PFF, he was a little bit taller, a little bit bigger than that. The bench reps obviously has me concerned, but I just feel like the guy can play. It's been against a little bit less caliber of team. What do you think, Tim?
It looks like he actually put on some weight. If they got him there at 311, I mean, he was 300 according to PFF earlier. So, and then obviously they were a little generous with the height as well. So, you get these RAS numbers and, it makes you scratch your head a little bit. I don't know how to feel about Charles Grant. I'm not down on him. I'm not high on him.
So is it fair to say that this is how I feel at first, second, third round? Nah, but anything after the third, I'd be like, yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I like, like guys in that range. I like Bo, Marcus Bo out of Purdue.
Yeah.
But Charles Grant, I'm with you. After third round, I'd be cool with it. Probably a project.
Daryl's saying that Grant was 6'5", 311 at the combine. That's quite a bit different than what Math Bomb has here. 5 inches worth.
Yeah.
If that's the case, then that's a vast difference. I'd like to fact check that if we could.
Wait, it's 6'4" and 7, whatever that is, right? Whatever. I think that's what 6.
No. Okay, that's probably fair. Yeah.
So it's close. It's a little over 6'4" and a half, I believe. So,
that's fair.
Yeah. All right. Holmes in the chat says, did Clay refer to my 40 time, brother? I'm looking forward to meeting you for the draft, and we can all do drunk 40s. Nothing more fun. And what we need to do is get a baseball bat over there and put your head on the bat and do 20 circles around it and then run the 40. That's what we need to do. So it's going to be a blast, man. Titletown is going to be great, man. It is. That's what I'm talking about right here, Holmes. My wife and I, bro, we are people watchers. We just love getting in a public place and laughing our asses off at people in public. So he says nothing's more fun than watching the drunks run the 40 at Titletown. We got to do it, man. Got to do it. We should be the hot men. None of us run it. Just get there in line when people run it.
Hey, no problem with that.
We'll be handing out little shots.
Oh, yeah.
We'll be feeding them Alfredo.
Oh, my God. Carb load.
I ate more chicken Alfredo and just less water.
All right. We got in the 71 spot, Marcus. I've heard people say it's Bo. I've heard people say it's Mbo. What are you guys saying?
The M is silent.
Right,
I'm going to have to text Ryan because he keeps saying Mbo and it drives me insane.
He's not the only one, man. I've heard people on NFL Network calling him that. So projected draft position, mid to late first round. Purdue's Marcus Bo is a developmental prospect with raw talent that's turning heads. His size and strength paired with untapped potential have pushed him into the mid to late first round discussions. Obviously an incomplete RAS when we took the information down there as well. So 6'4", 303, obviously a little lot there on the weight. The shuttle wasn't too bad. Ran the shuttle at 4.67 is what was reported here. So 7.97 is what that scored. So what do y'all think about Bo there? What's his PFF grades look like? It's wild, too, because Charles Grant 70, Bo 71. They're right there neck and neck.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah. Tim, what do you think about it? Because what I was told, even in the draft coverage, or I'm sorry, in the combine coverage, that Marcus Bo is one of the most physically gifted, quote unquote, tackle / guards where he can get out, he can pull, he can move. But it's like his RAS doesn't quite highlight that.
Which makes me like him even more.
I was going to say, it's like, it almost seems like that he's the exception to the rule that we kind of talk about here, where it's like he's just
almost like he's just a really good football player, right?
It's weird, Tim. I don't know how to do that.
Hey, that's Milwaukee family there, Shout out to Tulsa East.
Oh, that's why you love him. Never
that's
mind.
my dude right there, man. We got to look out.
I forgot.
We got to look out. 6'5", 300. Come on, man. the big
It's
dog.
hilarious, too. If we ever have a prospect that comes out of Harlan County High, I'll be going, don't take him. I'm going to be honest about my situation. Now, it's funny,
I know his brother. Don't take him. Don't.
we've actually got a kid on the Kentucky basketball team. His name's Noah. He came from Harlan County High. Pretty good little baller, man. He was a lot of fun to watch. I think he's a true freshman this year. So, all right, next we got in the 81 spot, Chase Lunt out of UConn. Projected draft position is 4th to 5th round. Chase Lunt from UConn is a lesser-known name who's gaining traction. His consistency and effort on film have raised his profile, making him a solid mid-round option for teams needing depth. The RAS was incomplete at the time. I'm sure it still is. Size 6'7", 304. I mean, he's going to have how is he 6'7" and his arms are only 32 inches long?
That's tiny.
That's crazy.
T-Rex arms there.
Yeah, and he had only 20 reps on the bench there for Chase Lunt. So the rest of it is somewhat incomplete here with the RAS. What do you guys got on him, Tim? You got him on anything at all, or Jacob?
Yeah, I got him pulled up.
You got
Strength and conditioning for this guy. That's the big gripe. He's got to get stronger to be more consistent against NFL caliber power and speed. So this could be a guy that could struggle unless he hits that weight room and bulks up. But looking at his PFF, man, he graded out 86.7 last year. The numbers are there. He looks like Mr. Availability. Pretty much exclusively right tackle, but again, doesn't mean he won't end up as a right guard or something in the NFL. But yeah, it seems to be the strength is the big knock on him. So
SDM40 says if you can't tie your own shoes or feed yourself, you can't play left tackle. That's probably pretty accurate there. Number 90, we got Cameron. Go ahead, Jake. I'm sorry, man.
No. You I just wanted to highlight what Tim said. Very clearly a right tackle here. He played one snap at left guard in his whole career out of like almost 2,000 plus snaps. But he, like Tim said, I mean, he does have the credentials, the attributes to be, a decent player. It looks like he only let 5 sacks go his whole career, but it just doesn't seem like he puts it together at a level where it's going to be competing with the highest competition there. But he's interesting for sure, but he's really way big with short arms. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, definitely. All right. For those of you listening on the pod, that's going to do it for hour 1. We will continue the offensive line talk on the other side for hour 2. We'll see you over on hour 2. Appreciate y'all. All right. Welcome in hour 2. Some people were saying I didn't leave, Clayton. Well, all right. Good. Glad you didn't. Let's move it along here. Let's get rounding out the top 100 here, getting close. Cameron Williams out of Texas, projected late first round. And some of you guys are probably going late first round, but you got him in the 90 spot. That's right. That's why the draft board's important. Like, we're showing where the quality prospects are, maybe where the guys that are, in our opinion, might be a little bit hyped, right? So I think it's important to look at that all the way around here. Holmes MD1, we shall continue to suck. All right, projected draft position, late first round. Texas produces another tackle in Cameron Williams, a player with a massive frame and untapped potential. His physical tools have caught attention, projecting him as late first round prospect with room to grow. He's 6'5", 317 pounds. His arm length, 34.5 inches. Tim, that's probably why people see him as a first round pick, I would imagine. That's pretty good arm length there.
Yeah, for sure. He cut some weight, it looks like. Again, he was listed at 335 earlier, according to PFF. So here's someone who looks like, if he's at 317 now, he lost significant weight.
Hey, I'm sorry to throw a wrench in the spokes here, but just while it's in my mind, otherwise I know I'll forget it. Have you guys seen the D tackle from Florida that's probably going to be – I would hope to be drafted, but he's like 6'6", 425 pounds.
Yeah, we talked about him. Was it last time or not before, Tim? We talked about him?
Okay. I think so, yeah.
If he is drafted, he will be the largest person that's ever been drafted in the history of the NFL. Anyways, I'm sorry to derail that. I just thought it popped in my head and I went, God, that'd be like, I don't know where, if the Packers drafted him with the 7th, I'd be like, oh yeah, plug him in, baby. Put in the big boy.
The comment I made in the Patreon group, someone posted the article was, I want to eat at his grandma's house. Like, his grandma knows how to cook.
Thanksgiving's the best Thanksgiving.
It is. All right, number 94. I hope I'm saying this right. Johnny Cornelius. All right, projected draft position 5th to 6th round. Oregon's Johnny Cornelius rounds out the Ducks' representation on this list. His versatility and solid fundamentals make him a reliable mid to late round option for teams seeking depth with upside. So here's one of these guys. If he is truly a 5th to 6th round pick, Tim, help me out here with the ticker. Think about this. Where would, in the 5th or 6th round, around what pick would that be as the ticker rolls?
159, 198, and then 237 would put you into the 7th round.
Gotcha. So you would be getting the 94th prospect with, say, pick 159. That's why it's important to kind of focus on the board and see where these guys lie. What's PFF say about this guy? What do y'all think about him?
You know, what's interesting about this guy is that he is the exact opposite prototype of what we look for as far as progression. So in 2022, the guy played 11 games. Kudos to you. Played over 720 snaps, only allowed 1 sack, 2 hits, 3 hurries, but he had a 90.1 grade. I mean, that's amazing, right? 90.1 grade in 2022. 2023 came in and he played 14 games, had a 77.9 grade, almost 900 snaps, let go of no sacks, no 1 hit and 10 hurries. But then he comes back in 2024. He's a 74.2, played 14 games, almost 1,000 snaps, 3 sacks, 4 hits, 22 hurries allowed. He's predominantly, almost exclusively a right tackle. He's regressed every year since he's been in college, and that's not exactly what we're looking for. I would argue that maybe there's a situation there where you could, probably understand why that happened. Was a coaching change, an offensive scheme change, something like that. But what do you guys think about the fact that he's regressed since 2022, where he was his best season, almost elite?
Yeah, it's weird, strange. I don't know, Tim. What do you think would? I'm trying to think. Did they change offenses or anything? But Oregon, man, they were humming last year, right?
They were.
So,
Yeah, and they didn't really move him around. I mean,
no, he's exclusively almost a right tackle, right?
Handful of snaps at left tackle, left guard, but that was only last year. That was the only time they even tried to sprinkle him in a little bit at other spots. So, and then injuries don't appear to be a big factor. It looks like he missed some time in 2022, but nothing significant. So yeah, I don't know what would explain that. I do know that the footwork with him seems to be a concern, and then the speed and quickness too. So I don't know.
No.
All right, moving along. Number 97, we got Ozzie Trapillo out of Boston College. Projected draft position is 3rd to 4th round. Boston College's Ozzie Trapillo brings a blue-collar mentality to the field. His work ethic and physicality combined with consistent play have elevated him to the 3rd to 4th round. And what we got here is an 8.85 RAS. I love the fact, don't you love that they mentioned his work ethic and his physicality? And my man did everything they asked him to other than the vertical, it looks like. So his height, 6 foot.
A true 6'8". That's crazy.
6'8", 316 pounds, 22 reps. The 22 reps kind of low, but he's got 33-inch arms, not horrible, but you would expect a little bit longer arms for a guy that size. Broad jump of 8'10". 40-yard dash 5.21. The shuttle looks decent, 4.7 and a 7.71. Not bad at all there. We got him in the 97 spot, so obviously that's probably right there in the wheelhouse, right? Like pick 3 or 3rd round is 87th pick, and round 4 is the 124th pick. So we got him at 97. We're right there in that ballpark.
Boy, I don't know about you, Tim, but I look at his grades and I think, okay, that's serviceable. 10 games, 12 games, 12 games, almost 700 snaps at each of his seasons. Only gave up a limited amount of sacks. He is a right tackle the last 2 years, but he has substantial snaps at left tackle. Almost 700. Tackle. He's a swing tackle. Isn't that's kind of a guy we need there, Tim, isn't it?
Yep. And the other thing that's not going to show up on his RAS chart is his FBI. Multiple scouting reports on him have praised his football intelligence and the ability to play different spots and different schemes. So yeah, this guy is definitely someone who should be on
Look at that hand size too. That dude is
big old balls on that.
He's palming the basketball for sure on that one.
How about these hands?
Up next, and this is one of those guys that would probably, I don't know, maybe he wouldn't. I was going to say maybe he would convert to a guard, but at 6'7", Lord have mercy. We got Brandon Crenshaw Dixon out of Florida. Projected is 4th to 6th round. We got him in the 129 spot. Closing the list is Brandon Crenshaw Dixon from Florida. While still raw in some areas, his athleticism in size, have him pegged as a mid-round prospect with the potential to develop into a contributor. Now, boy, he did not measure out to live up to that scouting report that that was poured off the intraweb there. 6'7", check the box. 316, not bad, right? Arm length good, 34 inches. Hand size, 10.5 inches. Vertical jump, only 24 inches, scoring a 198. Broad jump,
I can jump that high.
800, 184. 40-yard dash, 533. 20-yard split, 308. Everything's poor across the board. Matter of fact, the explosion grade was very poor. So, obviously, they got him projected 4th to 6th round, a pretty wide range there. We got him in the 129 spot.
He's a good zone blocker.
He's a very good zone blocker.
He's a swing tackle also, technically speaking.
I would agree with that.
Tim, a good backup.
Are you surprised?
Dude.
Look at his 2024 grades by game. I mean, like, he had maybe 3 games that were like you consider subpar, but other than that, it's quite impressive. It's almost like this is one of those guys where you don't quite understand the PFF grading scale, because I'm talking mid 70s to high 80s, other than the fact that he had a 49, a 60, a 60, and a 50. You know what I mean? So, and you look at his progression, again, something that I personally would be enticed with. 2022, 53.1, 2023, 72.8. This last year, 2024, 80.3. Seems like he's been healthy-ish. Like you said, swing tackle to the point where he literally is almost dead center. He went exclusively left tackle in 2022 for almost 800 snaps. He split it almost in 2023 for left and right tackle, and then 2024 exclusively right tackle. So that's to me, if we got this guy in the 5th, 6th, I'd be cool with that.
Drew D says, was he even trying, Tim?
Was he?
RAS. That's pretty rough, right?
I don't know, but like Jacob's saying, late round pick, maybe buck the conventional wisdom a little bit, and
can anyone in the chat let us know
on a guy that might just turn out to be a good player, even if he's not, an athletic freak or anything.
Yeah, can anyone in the chat let us know what Rasheed Walker's measurables were as far as RAS and where he was projected? Because this to me screams kind of like a Rasheed Walker type guy, where it's like nobody's giving him the time of day, and all of a sudden he just comes in the league and he's good. Yeah. He's better than good. He's serviceable.
Yeah, Rasheed Walker had an incomplete RAS. So
Rasheed, he's a finisher though.
Yes, he is. We got his measurable 6'5", 313. His hand size was 10.6. Arm length was 33.6. So that's where he's at. And yes, we got that, Jacob. Final thoughts. This year's offensive tackle class is shaping up to be deep and talented, with a mix of polished prospects and high upside projects. From the top tier talents like Will Campbell and Armand Membo to late round flyers like Brandon Crenshaw Dixon. There's something for every team's draft strategy. As the pre-draft process unfolds, keep an eye on these names. They could be the key to bolstering an NFL offensive line. So there's your offensive tackle breakdown. And again, you guys have had access to that for a while. You've also got access to the next one we're going to cover, which is interior offensive line, over at the Patreon group. So as we move on from tackle, again, the same thing applies to guards. Some people might see a guard as a tackle. Some people might see many of those tackles as guards. Just, hey, use your own imagination, right? We tried to do the best we could in determining whether someone would be or wouldn't. But Drew D, to answer your question here, says Rasheed Walker was a high 4-star recruit out of high school, so you could bet your bottom dollar he is quite athletic.